I didn't get to talk about this yesterday. News broke that Jessica McCaskill, who's going to be fighting on the undercard of the October 6th Worlds Collide card. I didn't get to talk about how yesterday it was announced that her fight isn't just going to be some kind of warm-up fight or some kind of showcase fight. No, it's not going to be that kind of fight. On October 6th, Jessica McCaskill is going to be squaring off against the WBC super lightweight champion, Erika Farias. Erika Farias, who graces the number 8 spot on the women's ring IQ pound for pound list, where I thought
this should be a tune-up,
that she was going to get a chance to tune up, put her skills on display for the paying public, the hometown crowd.
In Chicago.
She's going to be challenging for the green belt for the WBC title. And let me tell you that this is an exciting development. It's an exciting development because both of these girls just so happen to be punchers.
Devastating punchers.
Punchers that really believe in their power. Punchers that know that there's a good chance if they touch you, they're going to hurt you. And with this being Jessica's second chance at a world title, this is a very interesting development. Let's talk about the fight. A couple of months ago, I talked about how I could see Jessica McCaskill going up to super lightweight and doing very well for herself. I could see her beating someone like Ana Laura Esteche, who's the only unified champion in that weight class. I could see her winning that fight.
It is possible.
But rather than Ana Laura Esteche, Jessica's going to be squaring off against the most game opponent in the entire division.
La Pantera.
The best of the best in that weight class. Erika Farias, who shared the ring with Clarice Venson, Cecilia Breakus, and more recently, Ana Laura Esteche. Ana Laura Esteche, who hit the deck when Erika hit her with that overhand right in the early goings of the fight. These things in mind, and it being that this is Jessica McCaskill's first attempt at a world title in this weight class, you can deduce why this is a very close fight. You can deduce that this has all the makings of a firefight. They're both good boxers. Don't ever be fooled. They're both good boxers. They're both very educated punchers. But these are not finesse fighters. Erika's not a finesse fighter any more than Jessica McCaskill's a finesse fighter. They are punchers through and through that use the boxing to execute the punching. I don't think that Jessica McCaskill is going to have to work as hard as she did with Katie Taylor to find her opponent in the ring.
She'll be there.
Because Erika's not an in and out kind of fighter. She's really not the hit and not get hit kind of fighter. What Erika is a gutting and gritty
puncher
champion who's got an overhand right straight out the devil's asshole. That's what we're talking about right here.
Mind the right hand.
And it just so happens that, she is the more experienced fighter in the fight. She is more experienced at the world level. I often talk about the toughness of Argentinian fighters, female fighters in particular, that these aren't the kind of fighters that you can afford to look past because they can surprise you. Surprise you in all the ways that Amanda Serrano was surprised by her previous opponent.
Yamila Reynoso.
A fighter who, I didn't think much of her. I myself didn't think much of her. I thought that Amanda Serrano was going to be able to coast to an easy win against Reynoso, and Reynoso really gave it a go, really came to fight. Tough Argentinian fighter. A tough Argentinian fighter that in no way, shape, or form is as good as, say, Erika Farias. So ahead of this fight, my preliminary thoughts are, Jessica's really got her work cut out for her. She wanted an opportunity, and she's got it. But everything from here on out,
it's on her.
It's up to her. The ball is in her court to take this fight to Erika and take that belt from Erika. And I'm pretty sure that Erika's gonna have some objections to that. I'm pretty sure that Erika's not gonna let that belt go without a fight. Now, when you've got two fighters like this that have a very similar style, both fighters believe in their power. Both fighters are scrappers. Both fighters are punchers. More often than not, what determines the outcome of a fight like that is who's the bigger puncher. We saw this play out very recently against David Lemieux and Spike O'Sullivan. They're both bangers, they're both scrappers, they're both punchers. But David Lemieux is a far bigger puncher than Spike O'Sullivan. So Spike O'Sullivan being a banger and opening up, that makes him subject to David Lemieux's power. In this situation, that's not a mistake that Jessica McCaskill can afford to make. Essentially, what I'm getting at here is, if Jessica stands any chance of beating a more experienced fighter than she is, and what is arguably a bigger puncher than she is,
It's not arguable.
what we're going to have to see from Jessica is a little bit more boxing and a little less punching. The more she opens up on Erika, the more chances there are that Erika can nail her with the overhand right. That is a punch that Jessica McCaskill has not had the privilege of experiencing as a professional. Lest we forget, Jessica ain't even got 10 fights yet. So she's still a little on the green side in general. Not just in this fight, but in a very general sense. So if Jessica is to stand a chance to beat Erika, it's gonna have to be on points. I don't see Jessica McCaskill knocking Erika out, even in victory. Even in a scenario where Jessica might win, it would have to be on points. Because Erika's got a good chin. We've seen that. Erika's got some of the best punch resistance in the business. That, coupled with her power, is the reason that she is such a game opponent. That she can take a shot and give one right back. If Jessica is to stand a chance of winning this fight, it's going to have to be on points. That in mind, if you're planning on fighting for the long haul, you're planning on going the distance, the way you win that fight is through the boxing. Not just the punching, but the boxing. Showing the cleaner and clearer work in the eyes of the judges. Jessica McCaskill, she's got some defensive virtues in spite of not being a defensive fighter. But she does have some defensive virtues. If you've seen her before, you know that she knows how to angle her head away from punches, roll punches off the shoulder, and use her upper body to get under and around punches. She's going to have to show this.
And counter.
She's going to have to show it quite a bit. She's going to have to use this to angle herself away from the punches and work off the counter.
That's it.
Work off the counter and don't mix it up too much with Erika mid-range to inside, because that's exactly what Erika wants. That gives her the opportunity to use her power. And if you're in Jessica McCaskill's situation where you're not as experienced, you may not even be as big a puncher, if you're in that situation, then your objective has to be to take Erika's power away from her. The way you do that is with movement. The way you do that is with negating her offense with your defense. Using that defense to work off the counter. Outmaneuver Erika. She may not be able to outgun Erika, but she may be able to outmaneuver her, because Erika really isn't that fast on her feet, and she doesn't have the fastest hands either. Erika relies on mixing it up with her opponents and using that window of opportunity to land power shots. Jessica McCaskill has to close that window by staying mobile. Don't stand right in front of this girl, because Erika Farias, like most flat-footed fighters, they draw their power from the ground. So if you're standing right in front of them, you're getting the full brunt of the impact. More often than not, you hear about flat-footed fighters talked about in a negative context, and it's a very short-sighted way of looking at things. It's got its pros the same way it's got its cons. In this situation, Jessica's gonna have to use the cons. She's gonna have to make this flat-footed fighter work to find her range. Don't stand right in front of her waiting to get hit. Don't just put the earmuffs on. Angle yourself away from those punches so that she can expend her energy.
Make it tired.
Costs twice as much energy to swing and miss as if you actually hit something. This is something that Jessica McCaskill can use to her advantage, because I reiterate, I've seen some very good upper body movement, good head movement, and good angles from Jessica. That's her key to victory. That's her window to beat Erika on points, because I don't see her knocking Erika out. Relatively speaking, Jessica McCaskill is the smaller fighter in the fight. And that is something that she can use to her advantage, because she's a little smaller, a little bit more wiry than Erika. Erika wants to make it a dogfight. She wants to let her hands go. Jessica's got to take those opportunities away from her by using those legs and using that upper body to angle it away from Erica's onslaught. I believe that this is something that Jessica can do, but she's got to be very mindful of it because Jessica's a puncher as well. She's not a defensive fighter, so she's got the same kind of inclinations that Erica's got. Essentially, Jessica's gonna have to get away a bit from the punching to focus on the boxing, because that's her avenue to win. It's a very intriguing fight, and logic might dictate that when you have two similar fighters who have two similar styles, and one is more experienced than the other, and one just so happens to be a bigger puncher than the other, logic dictates that you pick that fighter to win. But there are certain things that can't always be measured by logistics.
Like hard.
There are certain things that, you know what? A fighter can rise to the occasion. A fighter can surprise you. And it is possible that this fighter could be Jessica McCaskill. On October 6th, she may rise to the occasion. We'll just have to wait and see. And we'll talk more about this fight as the fight date approaches. It won't be long now. October 6th is, 2 weeks away? So we got a lot to discuss here. But preliminary thoughts. If Jessica McCaskill stands any chance to win this fight, it's gonna have to be on points, and it's gonna have to be through the boxing, not the punching.